I think we're good. Hello, everyone. My name is Trups LP, and welcome to a very, very interesting and unique political recap. I am joined, as always, with my lovely co-host, the moist one, Omegon. Say hello, Omegon.
Hello, Omegon.
Yes, how is Omegon?
I'm really, really confused.
Me too. But also not really.
No, I mean, to an
Um,
extent, I kind of... a lot of what has happened, you kind of expected it.
some of
And,
it.
yeah, some, sure. And I just don't know how to respond. I mean, it's actually astonishing. This has been... Oh, boy. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm
Uh,
going to just go out of the gate real quick and just say for everyone the majority of what we will be talking about is the day that the Senate was to count the Electoral College votes and subsequent riot and storming of the Capitol building by those who were protesting the count. Just
yep.
want to point that out for a lot. There may be some other things sprinkled in here and there, but the majority is going to be
Yeah, why not? I mean, we just got thrown back into a lockdown, and I was ready. I was like, 30 minutes, I've got the floor, we've got this. I'm going to absolutely flay Boris for this. And then the 6th of January swung around, and I'm like, well, shit. I guess that's going. That's been reduced. That's going down to 5 minutes.
I think he goes. What was that? Fucking welcome to the land of confusion.
Yeah.
The day after the January 7th, I woke up and I posted on Twitter, "Good morning, Night City." This is a cyberpunk reference.
Yeah. I've
Um,
seen a few memes here and there, so I kind of got that.
good. Okay, so
Where do you even
you know what?
start?
I was gonna say, how do I start with this? You know what? Let's hear the flaying of Boris just real quick because
All
I
right.
don't want to steal your thunder too much because
Well,
goddamn it, Americans had to one up everyone, I
A
guess.
Thunder's already been stolen. I tried to archive this all week, but archive's been exceptionally useless. So
I
let's
have
see if
been
I can.
downloading so many videos.
All right, here we are. So, as of the Tuesday, I think it was, the UK entered another full-scale lockdown. No, yes, I say UK because while it was each devolved administration has their respective powers to implement a lockdown that they choose. No argument there. Scotland had already done it so that essentially if you go outside, you're done. Wales had already started something like that ages ago anyway, because Mark Drakeford is a massive tosser who got banned from over 100 pubs in Wales, which I think is most of them anyway. Northern Ireland or Stormont, which is their head building place, I don't know what it's called. I assume it's a Guinness factory. They they had already implemented something anyway, so England was a little behind, but at the same time didn't need to at the time. The problem is, every single time Keir Starmer said do a lockdown, do this, do this, do this, some form of stricter measure, Boris has said no, and then within 48 hours has implemented it. It's starting to make Keir Starmer look good, but not at the same time, because we all know he's only really doing it for political clout at this point. Although I can't wait for him to start saying, but what about the economy? You mean the same economy you wanted to shut down by doing a massive lockdown? Okay. Glad to see you're just opposition. Oh, hang on. The like button. Thank you for the £10 donation. You know what to do with me. Do it. Yes, please smash the like. I'm sure most of you will go smash the dislike when we start talking about America. But for now, let's talk about the UK. And if that was who I think it was, I've opened my DMs and all I see is blank spaces. I'm very confused by this. So, one for you as well, see. The like button, $10, smash me, you know, to smash me. That's very kind of you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Yes.
you.
I have perpetual loading DMs. I have no idea what that means, but I have lots of DMs and none of them refuse to show me any messages. Yeah. So I can't see messages from anyone. Yay. Anyway, so the lockdown is as follows. Work. You can only leave home for work purposes where it is reasonable for you to do your job from where it is unreasonable to do it from home. My older sister is a supervisor at a school. During the lunch breaks.
Mm-hmm.
The schools are mostly shut except for essential workers. So she has to be there for that. And I get it. Volunteering. True. You can also leave home to provide voluntary or charitable services for essential services. You have essential activities, which means like go to the shops, go pick up medication, or you can do it on behalf of those who are vulnerable or self-isolating. Education, childcare, but again, it comes down to registered childcare, supervised activities, and blah blah. You can only go out to your house alone, or with one other person from your support bubble once a day, and not outside your local area. How they define that, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm sure it's subjective. I'll test it tomorrow on a bike ride. You have harm and compassionate visits, although, to be honest, the harm is DV related. The compassionate visits, since that would count as care homes and no one's allowed in a care home, that's a big no. You have animal welfare reasons, although I would argue that's not really going to go anywhere. No. No one really cares about animals. Really, seriously, do they? No. You also
really, because in America, we actually have a record amount of people who are purchasing dogs. Or adopting dogs.
I'm not surprised, because if they're at home, I get it. I really do, and that's great. Yeah. What I mean is in the sense of using it as a reason to go to the vet or something.
Yes.
Because vets here are incredibly expensive. The last one is communal worship. Now, last time, during the first national lockdown in March or April of last year, that was, no, you're not worshipping at all. You get fucked, quite frankly. This time you can, but, so yeah, it's quite strict. It's nowhere near as strict as the first lockdown, but it is still quite strict now. Now, everyone is blaming Kent. Fine, go ahead. I've had these jokes with Skulk about it, actually. If we just find because the meme, can the one person who's to blame in Kent please raise their hand so we can summarily kill them? I don't mean that, of course. It's part of a meme, okay?
You know what's actually really interesting about that in particular?
Mm-hmm.
There was actually a small town of which I am familiar with that, for the most part, was very, very isolated.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a couple individuals who had come in from out of state.
Yeah.
Who had been reported to have COVID.
Ooh.
And they legitimately did get threats like that.
Oh dear.
They legitimately did, because that community is so isolated, right?
Yeah.
That it would be very unusual or unheard of for any of them to actually have contracted that.
Yeah.
So yeah, they did not take too kindly, and of course they know who comes in and out of that town. It's very creepy. So
with this, there came anti-lockdown protests. Parliament voted this through resoundingly. Unsurprising. Sheeple crowd control, right? There were anti-lockdown protests. Lots were arrested. They are much stricter this time, though, with fines. So you have fixed penalty notice of £200, which for low income is a week's wages. That's not something you want. But I'll be honest, they could issue fines of up to 10 grand. And people have already been getting slapped with thousands of pounds worth of fines for breaching lockdown rules. Interestingly, though, a whole bunch of celebrities that were on holidays around the world taking photos of their rather lavish lifestyles, flying back, getting a minor slap on the wrist and just carrying on with their day. I'm sat here thinking, oh, you really should be applying this, equally. If you're going to punish...
Yeah, but you're not part of that class.
True, you're right. But if you're going to punish someone on low income, someone for protesting because they don't want to be in a lockdown, but you're going to just slap the guy who's just come back from the Maldives on the wrist, sure.
Oh, no. You're right.
Yeah,
but
I know.
Fuck you, though.
I don't agree with this anymore.
How dare you think you have rights?
I know this. I'm not being anti-COVID or anything. I'm not trying. I'm sick of the lockdowns. I'm sick of the... People can say, oh, we're in this together, but at this point, you're not, because we're all very much isolated. There's clearly no unity here, okay? And, yes, Skog, you mentioned a family in their home. So yes, a family were in their home. The police, was it 6 police officers turned up or something? And
Oh, is this the
essentially,
Scotland video?
yeah, that one. Yeah, I think we've all seen it.
Those-
And yeah, they arrested them. And I'm like, but they're family. It's
And
legit.
in their own home.
Exactly. Legit. Support bubble. I'm sorry, by the definition of the groupings they've mentioned here, then, myself, my 2 sisters, and their 3 kids can't be in this house together. I expect the Roz is at my door any second now. Are you absolutely
Roundshirts are coming.
The pigs are coming, everyone. I can smell the bacon from over here. It's redundant. And I can't be bothered with this. We're in it together stuff. The clapping for the NHS. I'm becoming more black-pilled by the minute, and I'm hating it. Can we just go back to work, please? Can I just go back to the gym?
This is what the kids nowadays would call cringe. And the reason I say it like that is because honestly, they're kind of right in the sense that we have to essentially that we are clapping for our EMTs and first responders. Okay, yeah, like sure. When you make it a thing over and over again, it starts to lose a little bit of its its shine, if you will, and it starts to become redundant and almost oh god, what patronizing? I think
it is patronizing. It is quite badly.
And I don't think anybody is really considering, like, I don't necessarily know if I mean the word optics here, but optics is the word that comes up. It's just tedious, tiresome. It doesn't mean anything. You're not showing them that you actually care. You just are making a PR stunt and having people clap because you won't help them any other way.
Yeah, and thank you, Skog, for sending me that Kent image. I do appreciate it. I'm fully on board with this. I don't care for the virtue signalling for the NHS. They're struggling enough in some areas like London anyway, and they always were going to struggle. Others point out the... Okay, I don't know why my body's malfunctioning. I do apologise.
Okay.
It's like trying to burp, but it's not. It's really strange. Yeah, I don't. It's in my lungs somewhere.
COVID.
Yes, indeed. It's. Oh, I forgot what I was going to say now. Okay.
You are on board with the that you agree a lot of what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. When I when I met with Skog and we were talking about this. It reminded of the percentage of those infected, the percentage of those that pass from it, and people deal in absolute numbers as a means to boost make it seem bigger and scarier, and I'm just not. And maybe it's because I don't have. I don't have it. I've never been through it. I'm not saying it's not real because I know people who've been through it. In fact, one of them's in the chat. I'm looking at her name now. It's just, I'm not as afraid, and I don't think I should be stopped from living my life, which is what is happening. And that's a very, and by the way, I'm saying this it's an instant response, not one that I've thought out, because I wouldn't ordinarily say something like that without giving it more thought. But in reality, I'm just bored. I'm so bored. And my thought is, you've stopped everyone from living because you're afraid of something. Just...
I feel like boredom may be selling yourself short. Because there is, like, actual issues with being in the same place for so long. And it kind of transcends boredom after a certain point. It's, you do get, forms of what they call cabin fever or, stir craziness, and these things can actually impact your mental state after a while. So I don't necessarily think that it's I feel you may be selling yourself short by calling it boredom.
I possibly am. It's more, I think it's a frustration because things have stopped and I'm starting to look at this as something less to be intimidated by. And if we are, I'm sorry, people. So I think Boris and a few others have done this. They've compared us working together to get through something to that of like the bombings in the World War II and stuff. And I was like, yes, but you know what the big difference there is? People went back to work. They didn't stop working. Oh, but the transmission, yes, in huge gatherings like at schools. Fuck me. Oh, and the fact that they misinterpreted so many of the statistics, it's starting to do my head in. Like the one that says if someone dies and they have coronavirus, they died because they had coronavirus. They died because of that, and they bolstered a wrong number. And it's so stupid and disingenuous. How little do you understand statistics?
The thing is, I perhaps it's cynicism, but I think it's more intentional.
You know when people say at school that, when are you ever going to use statistics? Okay, well, apparently, never, because some people don't actually understand them even now. So I guess we can just keep on living in ignorance instead of applying ourselves in one of the most basic forms of mathematics to understand something. And I don't mean I'm not a science denier. Everyone knows I'm not. So don't try and interpret me as being one. I promise you, I'm not I'm the last person you want to call a science denier. Okay. If I were, I should probably hand back my Royal Society of Chemistry membership. That would be the and the degrees. I think I'd be the wrong person. But I just... People not understanding the statistics are interpreting this wrong, and it's pissing me off as well. And Boris is championing a lot of these misunderstandings. And that annoys me. I like Boris, but you're not educating the people. You're instead saying, just stay home, save lives. Even though the current strain has already been proven with stricter lockdowns to just keep going up anyway. You don't suppose that has anything to do with the fact we're in the winter right now, do you?
I don't know. Maybe we need a virologist who's paid too much to tell me what I think.
Oh, virologist. Yeah, we do. I did put a... Oh, where was it?
Epidemiologist, I suppose. There's a technical name.
I like that on Monday, I made a video on this channel saying I agree with Jess Phillips. And the background of that was, coronavirus tier 5. Do not assume a physical form. There is a new strain of COVID which spreads even faster. Consider alternate methods of manifesting such as astral projecting. You must not enter a plane of existence except for allowed reasons, food, work, medical purposes.
Sorry.
It's in
Sorry, wait.
It's in my Moisky News little thing.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Jess Phillips was trying to...
Oh, no. I agreed with her on moving on from Brexit. And then the next day they announced the lockdown. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. Because I would have made another video. And then I thought, I'll save it Friday. Nothing can happen between now and then. Oh, and here we are. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mantar trumps everything in the UK. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's having a good time.
Yeah. So I mean, I do want to make more videos, by the way, but on this channel. But I don't know, I got distracted. And
I actually like what
Sorry?
Arms Killer in the chat makes a very good point. The equation of being skeptical and denying science is quite frankly what is disgusting, because that is the antithesis of what science is. He is right. The idea that science exists is a series of tests and trials and things that go back and forth and are left to some of the grandest forms of scrutiny in terms of our understanding of life. You have to defend your doctorate and your thesis before a panel.
There is a key point to science, and it's an important one. What can you prove is science? That is the question.
What can I prove is science? That's weird.
No, with.
Oh.
The answer is you can only prove a theory is more likely to be correct. That is what you're told by every major science. They all say exactly the same.
Here's the other thing. What can you prove with science? unless you're a scientist, not much of anything, because you're not the one who's going to do the experiment.
I like that the UK government for decades has relied on scientists to help them legislate on things, and then summarily ignored them, and now still turned to them and ignored them anyway.
I'm glad to know that that we still do the same things in our respective countries.
Yeah, it's nice that old-fashioned
We
dogma.
censor ours. Do you censor yours?
We just put them on a podium and make them intelligent, and then we just go against them. So we outright.
Okay. See, we ask them questions, put them on a Facebook live stream, and then summarily delete that live stream so no one can see it.
Yeah. I do want to say, for anyone who wants to be a little more pedantic about what I said about science, that is something most scientists will tell you, because even if you can prove something to be true, in reality, you're proving the theory is more than likely true. It's a really horrible physics-related comment about what is real. It comes down to that kind of thing, and it's so annoying. It almost gets philosophical, and I hate philosophy. That's his area, not mine.
Yeah, it's actually really funny. I actually worked for a what's the word? It's not an existential physicist, but it's experimental physicist. And in college, I worked for him, and he explained a lot of things in theoretical terms. And some of them got so far into the idea of separate dimensions because he basically made the point of, we don't know, but we don't not know.
Yeah, see, that's where I don't care anymore.
And I go, oh, so like, is it? He goes, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm done.
It's because it goes down a philosophical, people get very, very philosophical over it, and I'm sat here like, just...
Well, that plus experimental physics involves things like quantum mechanics and things like that.
It does, yeah. But anyway, yeah, science...
Tangent.
It's a big tangent. I do apologise. I know someone's going to try and correct me in the comments after this. Thank you for that in advance. I hate you. I'm not best impressed with this lockdown, as it'll last until the end of March. I just want to go to the gym. I just want to get my gains back. I want to shred. I want to be able to work on videos and not have to worry about working on videos because I have a job. Okay. Is that too much to ask?
And how dare you say that? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know.
No,
I mean, there is a level of selfishness, but I never wanted to rely on this as an occupation. Never.
Right.
I was very happy with my balance. It's like with Discord, the way it was originally to what it is now. I have to treat it differently for the time being until things change. Until get a choice. And I know the government is now pushing out the vaccine. They want to try and get it to what, 1 million, is it a day or a week or something, doses vaccinated? Okay.
I think they're just doing a steady stream and upping in speed and things like that, from what I understand.
200,000 a day, I think that's what the target was, or something stupid. I don't care what it is. Get it over and done with. Okay? I don't care anymore. If there's a microchip in there, the last thing you want to be doing is spying on the people and getting caught. If it gets me into bars quicker and stops me getting ID'd, at this point I've stopped caring. I just want to go to the gym. Okay? I'm a selfish creature.
Some may very much disagree with you on that because of how coy, essentially, you are with the idea of like how much you'll just say, yeah, please, I don't care what it is, just give it back.
Yeah,
I just want my life.
No, I know. You know what? I know some of you might take me the wrong way on that. I'm so fed up. I really am. So let's move on and talk about Mantar.
Okay. Yeah, so at about 1 o'clock, they technically started the session, started doing the counting in Congress for, all of the all of the electoral college votes. Flash forward a little while later, and you have a bunch of protesters who allegedly breach the outer security of the Capitol building.
Mm-hmm.
There are some videos that show those protesters being let in. Um, some say that is because they had a fear of being basically run over, in a sense, like
Right.
basically overpowered. I'm not so sure, but you had people scaling the walls, you had people breaking in windows, and all of this while they were on Arizona.
Right.
And objections for Arizona. Um, if you watched on C-SPAN, you saw there were a bunch of senators and representatives who were giving their opinions and their thoughts on the whole thing. And suddenly, what you would see is a lot of them had been checking their phones. A lot of them kept looking around. There were several times where the House had to come to order, which is, it's the same thing as your guys' order. And basically, people were freaking out because the people kept getting closer and closer
Yeah.
until the point where they finally broke, basically, to the front door, broke in the windows. And then they had to evacuate. First, it was a shelter in place. Then it was an evacuation. All of the representatives, Pence, Grassley, everyone from the floor. So then, flash to the other side of things, and they had moved all the way from the barricades around the Capitol all the way to the front door of the Capitol. And there was a huge amount, a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 people standing outside the Capitol, basically raring to get in.
Yeah.
And I mean, going at it.
Oh, hang on. Hang on. The like button donated £3. Hey, viewers, give me attention. Thank you, _like_button for the very generous donation. And yes, smash like. Carry on.
So, eventually, I don't know how exactly they got into the locked door, but eventually they get in the locked door.
Right.
At which point, then they go cavorting about through the halls of Congress, into offices, into the floor. As you've seen plenty of images, you had a guy who stole a lectern from
I've got
the Senate floor.
Yeah, I put the thumbnail up with a few of the pictures on it.
Yeah, you've got the guy in the center back who's taking hold of the lectern. You had the gentleman in the back left who was sitting in the speaker's chair of the floor.
Oh yeah. That was fun. QAnon guy, the one with the horns you're referring to, yeah.
Yeah.
QAnon
guy on the right who apparently is posing with a Gerald Ford statue holding a Trump flag.
Okay, you might know this better than me. Gerald Ford, he was after Nixon, right? Like 3 years.
I believe so.
Yeah, I mean he served fuck all time. Why the fuck is there a statue of him there?
Oh, because we just appreciate all of our.
I can't wait for a Trump one then.
but what's interesting about Ford is the only person to have served as both vice president and president without being elected to either office. He assumed those roles.
Oh dear. Okay, well that helps.
So he is an interesting fella. At the very least.
By the way, there were other people to add to this thumbnail. The guy sat behind Pelosi's desk. The woman in the video who came from some place in Texas, who came with the rioters, and she apparently claimed to bring guns and stuff, and all she did was kick in the door to the office, I believe, or was part of the group that may have done that. I don't know for certain. I should say for sake of it. I haven't been paying as much attention to this beyond the memes. Because honestly, what do I want to know about this beyond the memes?
Well, honestly, I feel like something that you as a Briton would enjoy kind of looking at.
Oh, I have enjoyed looking at it, but the meme because it's just fascinating, especially when I saw Pence say after he counted the votes and he announced the winner of the Electoral College bit for the president and VP, and he said that talking about the whole world watching and restoring faith in one of the world's greatest democracy or something. And that's, I mean,
Sure.
yeah, and I'm sat here like, no. No.
The thing is, regardless of this doesn't change any of the facts or concerns that anybody had prior to this event.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great distraction. I will point it out that, and it doesn't change anything. Even Josh Hawley had said that the events that had transpired on the 6th did not change, what he was thinking in terms of his objections or his opinions on the subject. It became less expedient to go through with the things. Well, I guess without a camera on him, I suppose. But you have a lot of strange occurrences
Hmm.
from this event. Apparently, there were hard drives stolen, laptops stolen. Honestly, a bunch of things were stolen from
Oh yeah, hard
the
drive
cap.
from Pelosi's office, and I'd heard about that. The lectern. There were some other things. A gavel was it, or some other things? I don't know.
Possibly. There,
The-
there was there was a lot. I haven't looked up the tally of what was missing.
I know the lectern's
Um,
on eBay, or was.
uh, I have a yeah. If it is, I'm surprised.
Well,
Uh,
if it wasn't, it was a very good fake that was shared about on Twitter. An image of an
no,
eBay.
no. I'm saying I fully believe it was on there,
I still
but
maintain
I
the.
feel as if somebody maybe
Oh yeah, probably.
quickly decided
It's,
against that.
it's probably just a cardboard cutout being sold as if it was the real thing. I like the idea of someone at Thanksgiving having that at the end of their table. I think that'd be a fantastic little way to have your Thanksgiving with the head giving a little speech or carving it,
Oh yeah,
the turkey on that. I mean that. I'm sorry, that's really funny to me.
it just tickles you.
Yeah.
I don't think it. I mean, there are plenty of just humorous parts of this,
Hmm.
especially because you can think that somebody very well may have just had a replica that they've built
Yeah.
that they sold after they saw it got stolen,
Hmm.
and they might have been like, "Hey, maybe I can pass this off as the real thing."
Wait until you see someone on Etsy selling versions of it. They'll be like, I made
Oh,
this. Look at that.
I bet you're gonna have a lot of people capitalizing on the absolute fucking ridiculousness of this event.
Yeah.
I did you see the picture of the guy who set up a fucking concession stand
Yeah, yeah,
outside?
yeah. The hot dogs. We were talking about that in
Yeah, hot
VC.
dogs and fries,
Yeah,
fucking
yeah, yeah.
concession stand outside the goddamn halls of Congress.
That right there.
Hell yeah,
That right there.
libertarians.
That right there was what made it feel very American. I like the idea that someone. It's one of the few sort of things where something could go really wrong or look to be going really wrong, but it's okay. Someone's outside making money off it.
I
I
was
love it.
so.
It
Oh,
was-
who got shadow banned? Apparently, according to Roger Brown.
Wait, what?
Apparently, this video disappeared from his feed. We've been shadow banned.
Oh, that's interesting because the tag on it is Brexit. Okay. I need to change that. Give me a minute. Ah.
I still have it. I still have it on my feed. So maybe you're just not watching us enough. Um, no, but it's very interesting. And some people have rightly put out like Darth. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. I'm just gonna go with Nikta.
It is Nick.
But they point out that it is looting, and yes, it is. Now I had a very hard time kind of coming to terms with all of the things going on. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I had spoken with Meg the day of and while it was
Oh,
happening,
you called me, didn't you?
and
Yeah.
yeah, and I had my first guttural reaction was like, yes, do it. However, over time and after kind of like sitting on the idea, I have come to more or less disagree with my previous thoughts because the tact of it, while is that like it is that I want to get my feelings out, I want to do bad things. It's that catharsis that everyone kind of wants, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the tact behind it was very, very bad. I understand, but I can't condone what they did. Is really what it comes down to.
Also,
I completely Okay, go ahead.
so it also is a consistent line to hold because of our positions when it came to looting last year
Yeah.
and the violence last year. Even if the way it's been perceived isn't what really happened, one has to restate these points regardless because we're never going to get the absolute truth because you've got one side and a lot of support giving one perspective and another side I don't even know anymore. And there's claims of this being a lot of Antifa instead, and no one's going to believe beyond that, so we just have to keep saying, please stop being violent, please stop stealing. Just stop it, okay?
Well, right. And I thought about it, and I thought maybe if they had done it a little better,
Mm-hmm.
like let's say they had wanted to still break into the Capitol, but wanted to make a different, statement. If they had broken in and basically just sat in the galley and sat in, at the floor and just had done a sit-in,
Yeah,
I think it would have been more acceptable, more palpable for people to look at
that would have been cool.
than the people that would have made me feel a lot better,
I did see some
honestly.
people literally, or in an orderly fashion, following a bunch of those rope lines going through
Oh
Capitol.
yeah.
That was really interesting because I wasn't expecting that, and I like that. I like that. A lot of people that didn't denounce Antifa because they're not fascists, even though they used violence. Interesting. Which
Yeah,
is the
and
definition.
also Damien, none of the statues were, but apparently a antique bookcase was destroyed,
Oh,
unfortunately.
that does suck. I so what was I saying? Yeah. So there were a lot of people who were
Totally
talking.
line.
So Twitter, especially, and you know who I'm thinking of. I'm not going to say names because fuck it. They take the stance of Antifa aren't fascists, even though they use violence unironically, because it's who they're up against. That's right. But when this happened, and it was so small by comparison to anything else, it's like, oh my god, you are the epitome of the racists and everything that's wrong with America. Rah rah rah, you deserve it. I'm like, hang on, what? What the fuck is wrong with you
Though,
people? Just
though I do want to point out, in the comparison between Antifa and these right-wing protesters, at the very beginning of the stream, before it even started, Great Sky Troll Anti-Drama, the irony of that name is hilarious. Says, so Republicans have no idea how to riot. I disagree. I think they're actually the most efficient rioters.
apparently they are, to
You
be
had
honest.
Antifa, who took an entire summer to burn down local businesses, like the things that they interact with, right? And the Republicans took Capitol in a day.
There were some.
I think they kind of win. Actually, I think they're the better rioters at that point.
I think it's a more effective form of rioting because it wasn't just
Yeah.
let's just destroy things. And the annoying thing was with the certainly with the riots of last year, a lot of those riots were almost backed by the politicians in their areas,
Mm-hmm.
and those being they were like, don't let anyone out. You wouldn't allow outside interference to shut it down. No, 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 no. Let them do it. They have a right to do this. You're right. They have rights, but they're just all mostly upper middle class kids from very wealthy backgrounds destroying the impoverished and single like sole businesses and all that. Yeah, okay. This doesn't.
And Jason says they accomplished nothing but wasting a few hours of Congress's time. They did accomplish more. They accomplished giving the media exactly what they needed. This is the part that pissed me off.
Okay.
Which is the part that made me reconsider my initial guttural reaction. For the last 4 years, the media and the establishment has been telling everybody that Trump supporters are the bad guys. They are crazy. They are, they are insurgents. They want to take over the country. They are fascists.
Yeah.
Up until this day, by and large, Republicans never did it. They never became what they said the media said they were until this moment. And that's what pissed me off.
I would point out, because this is going to come up, annoyingly, as much as you would like the media to get that wake-up call, they've instead gone after something else. And that was a few tweets that got deleted from Trump. Even though he put out a video saying, go home, stop the violence, be peaceful. Although I saw other people who saw the video retweet it and say, too late. Impeach him. Arrest this man already. Because I don't know if this is true. Did he encourage the violence?
No. He never explicitly told them to go and just fuck up shit. They said, we'll go take a walk to the Capitol after his speech on the lawn.
Mm-hmm.
Before then, he said, come down to GC. It's going to be wild. He never said that there was going to be violence. He never encouraged violence.
Right. Is that true?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to... I'm just saying it for the sake of transparency. I don't want to get that wrong.
No, he never said, let's go take this back.
Yeah.
By force.
I know
he said, we'll take back our country. He said these things that, people could infer violence, but that's the problem.
Yeah, so I know that there was his comments about the election being a landslide for him, and that's what people are taking as the part where he is encouraging the violence because he is still deluding himself to the result. It's an astonishing result, and I will say that because it's such a massive number involved.
Mm-hmm.
But that's fine. It's going to be a hell for the next 4 years is going to be rather interesting regardless. I mean, you and I guarantee we've got 4 years of Obama, I guess, since he's basically appointing all the people Obama would have appointed anyway, and we know this for a fact. It's been reported by virtually every media outlet in the UK. There were people that Obama chose anyway. So that makes it very interesting for us because it'd be very interesting to see how one unites a country. What were your thoughts on the suspension? I think Trump got suspended, didn't he, from Twitter for a while?
He did.
What were your
indefinitely banned on Facebook.
So the Facebook thing, don't care. I don't care about Facebook in the slightest. Twitter's an interesting one because he's an outgoing president that many people keep saying he needs to be yeeted off the site. Do you think he will be?
Yes.
If he does,
I do.
If he does, oh my god, Paul Joseph Watson's going to put up the very first video. This is now proof they're after the right because they've gone after God Emperor.
Yeah. That's why a lot of people were saying Trump should go to Gab or Minds or whatever.
Parler's the one.
Parler.
Gab's far too...
Well, it didn't matter because they went through all of the different things that came up and said Trump should go here.
There is a Trump account on Parler, but they're running it in his stead, and they just post his tweets there.
Mm-hmm.
And they said I think they've said they'll give it to him if he wants it. And I'm thinking, it would be the worst thing to. I mean, I get it. He's very divisive, but he gets a lot of traffic. You can keep on slapping the election fraud warnings on all his tweets. Fine. To remove him would be a bad idea because it just does not help. Give people a chance, and So the one thing you always have in your country is the issue of sides. You only have two. That's it. My country, a little bit different. So if we disagree, it doesn't matter really. We have other parties to an extent. With your side, if you just yeet him, even though his party have kind of capitulated as well, and yeah, if they yeet him, oh dear,
I think they will.
It will cause so much more anger, and I don't think it will go away. And I think there's already going to be there will always be a tarnish for the next 4 years anyway, as a guarantee that even though he has been declared the winner, he has officially been declared winner now. It's official, right? He will be considered by many that don't like him, that he claims to be now president in name of, and in sense of unity and healing, as an illegitimate president. You're meant to work with them, not alienate. If you want to alienate, get rid of the guy who now you think is entirely to blame for everything, even though it was actually your politics that are to blame for his creation. It's like Nigel Farage, in the sense of as unpopular as he is, he was the creation of failed politics. Simple as that. But people don't care.
I'm watching the chat kind of like go back and forth.
I've been reading it too, and I do apologise if I've said anything that might not be favourable. Especially to the one person who downvoted. I'm disappointed that it's not higher.
Well, a lot of the things that I'm like, it is not an easy thing for me to come to either. I still am like kind of resolving my own thoughts and feelings on this issue, because I still have a little bit in me that says, we could have done better, but we also could have fought better. Like, I have both the pacifist route and the aggressive route. I can rationalize both. And it's hard for me to say, like, where things went wrong. Mostly because maybe because they had no plan. Like, once they got into the Capitol, then what, right? Like, there was no plan once they got in. They were like, we want in. Why? Because
that's an interesting point.
To stop the steal. Well, yeah, but like... But why though?
That's an interesting point, because unlike others that just kept going, who didn't really have a point either, they just wanted to destroy because that's what it was. They can say it was for injustice purposes, but I'll be honest, how were you ever going to resolve injustice? By burning everything down? Reality, you didn't have an end game, you just wanted to make a lot of mess. These guys, while they didn't have a plan, the end game wasn't... I don't think their end game was to stop the election, because they can't stop a Democrat. I do find it fascinating that the way it's, so I don't know if I can articulate this one. So these are voters. They vote for people within that chamber and other chambers. And yet the people who are in those chambers believe themselves above the voters.
Kind of.
You know what I mean?
They found themselves above those rabble. Is kind of my tongue-in-cheek way of describing it.
Yeah, sure. That works.
But I think yeah, they didn't find themselves accountable to the voters. But then again, like, how could you, as let's say a senator from fucking Kansas, know which one of the people who was storming the Capitol was your constituent? Like, they are in a sense answerable. They answer to the voters, yes, but they're voters.
Mm-hmm.
The issue here is kind of like what you guys had with the EU. We are a United States, a weird federalistic way of doing our government that keeps powers both vested in and separate from the federal government. It becomes very complicated. So yes, theoretically, like, yes, the senators and the House and all them, they are answerable they do answer to the people who were knocking on the door. But I don't know how you can tell just by looking at them, who's gonna come for you in disagreement or in support.
I do want to say now, I do feel really bad for anyone that was injured or sadly passed because of this. Genuinely, I'm really sorry that happened to them because... Oh, and Mel...
See, I'm pissed about it.
Mel Clump, thank you very much for that incredibly generous $20 donation. That's very kind of you.
I appreciate it, Mel. No, I'm pissed that people died. Okay? So 2 of them were killed because of direct actions regarding the Capitol. And 3 of them were killed because of medical emergencies on the Capitol, likely due to any of the tear gas that was fired.
Yeah. What about the video of the person we... you showed me a video of someone getting hit, the lady.
Ashley Babbitt.
So... what was her involvement? Because I've heard conflicting information.
Ashley Babbitt was a 14-year-old Air Force veteran, and she had stood up into the towards the door to the house, and she was shot by Capitol Police.
Right. That guy's
the cop has been put on administrative leave pending an investigation.
Oh, have they? I didn't think that would... I never thought that... I was about to say... I was literally about to say I doubt anything would happen. Well, thank you for stopping me.
Yeah. No. Yeah, she's dead.
F. That, I genuinely... I would never want anyone to die in these instances, and it's astonishing.
Well, see, that's why I'm saying I'm pissed about it. Because she was unarmed, and she basically... She, I get it. She was part of the mob outside the Capitol. But in the same vein as every other issue with police that we've talked about on this show all throughout last year, just because if they were unarmed, they didn't deserve to get shot. There are other ways, right? That was the rule, right?
Yeah.
That was the game that we had to play by.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she moved on the cop. I saw the video; didn't look like it.
I saw the video as well. I will say this: when it,
I believe we're behind her. Yes.
Yeah, in this video, we've got the straight-up side view of the entire incident. I hate the fact I saw that. By the way, genuinely, I don't like guns.
You needed to see it, though.
No, I get that. I really do, and I don't hold that against you in the slightest, because it is important to get the cut. So I actually, I've seen it. She did nothing. I'm sorry, there is no excuse. Oh, she climbed a barrier. Okay. Was pepper spray out of the question then? Okay. You had to shoot. Fantastic. Thanks for proving Brits right about what we think about... No, not finishing that sentence. You know what I mean? It's such an overreaction.
I mean, it is. The overreaction part is the truth of it.
I like that people on Twitter were saying, okay, this is one actually that fucked me off more than anything. It was the argument that if those people were black, they'd all be shot. Right. No, they wouldn't.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, are you really comparing this?
Maybe not.
I saw even actors and actresses. Chris Evans, Captain America, was doing this. He was saying the same shit, and I'm like, hang on, wait, what? You really want to do a false equivalence now, do you? You want to compare this on race to raise another issue? And yes, we would use broomsticks, not boomsticks.
No, boomsticks.
No, we would use broomsticks though. We don't care about your boomsticks. We would attack you with broomsticks. You'd lose. Our broomsticks are mighty. And I'll be honest, I'm not going to deny it. I'm not a huge fan of guns. I've never, and it's an understandable, irrational dislike. Let's go with that. I've never been raised with them, so it makes me uncomfortable. Simple as that. At least I'm honest about that. I'd still want to go when I come to the States to go to a gun range with traps. That'd be fun. Be a laugh.
Yeah, that'd be a good time.
I'll probably get hit with the recoil on the smallest gun you can imagine, and I'll probably have a concussion. Don't worry.
There's a couple that are actually really smooth that don't have much recoil. We'll give you some idea.
No, I was thinking you troll
Anyway,
me.
But at the same time, while I talk about Ashley, there is I'm currently looking up the name of the cop because there was a cop who was killed
Yes, I'd heard about that.
as well. Yes, okay, and I want to say his name too. Brian Sicknick.
Okay.
Yes, was a New Jersey native, joined the New Jersey Air National Guard. Um, he got his head beat in by a fire extinguisher.
Who did that?
I don't know.
Jeez. Oh, that's
But that's
terrible.
equally as disgusting.
That is absolutely. We can't condone that. I would never condone violence anyway. Some pigs are more equal after all. Indeed. Indeed, Skog.
But there are two sides of this, and I don't think they were actually on two different sides.
Hmm.
I think that in the line of duty that this officer was doing what he thought he had to do, and he got killed for it. And then Ashley, as a as an American, thought that their voices weren't being heard, that their country was under siege, and so she did what she thought was right, and then she paid the price for that too.
Yeah.
I don't think that any of this was worth it. Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it, but I don't know. I don't like the end result of it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the risk was worth the possibility, but I'm not sure. I can't tell the future. I'm not a psychic. But no, these two deaths and then the medical emergencies, I think they were unrelated to like specific issues with like altercations between two people. So I don't think that they're necessarily relevant. Still awful, but I don't think that they have the same kind of guttural reaction that the chat is feeling as well with the cop and Ashley. So I don't necessarily know, because then the next question that came of a lot of conservatives is, where do we go from here?
Where do you go?
Right. Well, right now, you have people who are still in support of Trump, and you have a lot of Republicans on Capitol Hill that are entertaining a lot of the ideas that are being put forth by radical Democrats. Did you know that I think her name was Cori Bush, maybe? But she wants to expel the Republican members of Congress who objected.
Yeah, I'm looking at her Twitter now. Cori Bush. Yeah, expel the Republican members of Congress who incited the white supremacist attempted coup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
By the way,
she's the new congresswoman, isn't she?
She is, first year. And also, by the way, the white supremacist thing, by the way, funny thing about that, Enrique Tarrio was arrested on the 4th before he even was able to get onto the ground during the protest. I wonder if things would have gone differently if the Proud Boys had their leader there, considering Enrique has been one of the major forces to tell people to calm the fuck down. And on twitch.tv/woke is where I watch a lot of these protests.
Yeah.
And I got timed out for making a comment that was in response to somebody's question. And it was, let me know if you see a single non-white person in the group that's inside the Capitol. And I found some, and I said, I found them, and I got timed out.
Lol. I'm looking at her Twitter, by the way. I mean, they're comparing them to inciting domestic terror attacks. You've got to be so careful. Josh Hawley's being, thrown around in this.
But this is exactly the same kind. This is the same rhetoric that forced or created the radicalization in the first place. Let's say, right? Let's give it to the leftist media just for this point, just by itself, right? Let's say that indeed the people who were storming the Capitol building were in fact radicals, right?
Yeah.
Well, where did that radicalization come from? Well, probably forcing them to go into their own echo chambers, their own bubbles, and foment ideas within themselves, progressively getting more and more pushed to the right, much like how the left does in their own echo chambers, right? And so now, what Cory Bush and CNN and MSNBC, all these people are saying, what they're saying is that we need to continue to stigmatize and push them away. Well, big problem with that. You're going to create more radicals. And I legitimately think that they are trying to. I don't know.
Well, I see. I would say, I'm not surprised when it comes to, for example, Biden's Twitter. He's not saying anything on this because if he starts to, he can't be seen promoting this very polarizing rhetoric. If you want to work, you've got to be magnanimous in victory, which is what he is now doing, I guess. Although he has blamed Trump for a lot of things anyway. I think it's dangerous for any congressperson to do this because it almost undermines an attempt at trying to be more we're above this kind of mentality. So I find it quite fascinating that some will do it anyway because they think they're better. There's always some people who think they're better than the rules, better than the unwritten rules, the status quo, the norm. They are above it, therefore they can because... Insert whatever you want here, I guess. If by doing that your intention is to go back to the way things are, then expect in the next 4 years something bad to happen again, in the sense of another rather messy election. But the Republican Party now needs to pull itself together, doesn't it? And it needs to now decide, is it going to stay in his corner, or is it going to find a person to compete with Biden? They've got to take back the House, which they most, as we've seen from history, normally the opposing team does after 2 years anyway. And I kind of expect it, to be honest, because if he does bring in a national lockdown, or as Roger Brown earlier called it, martial law.
There have been some conversations about that
Yeah.
he'll likely take down restrictions because of this.
If he does tighten restrictions?
Tighten restrictions that we have in some of the areas of the country.
He does that, he's guaranteeing he'll lose the House. Because that $2,000 was never going to cut it, and there's no way he can provide more money without causing... Well, eventually that bubble's going to burst if yours anyway, so...
We didn't even get $2,000 anyway, so...
Yeah, exactly, so he couldn't even give you the money to live on. So you kind of... He's going to lose... I think if he doesn't lose the House, I'd be surprised. The Senate was an interesting one. I'm actually somewhat surprised about that. But doesn't matter. Georgia is blue, apparently. Even though the votes were so close. If anything, it just makes Georgia look incredibly purple. But alright. It's blue, sure. It'd be very interesting to see what happens. It's messy. But we get really... This will be good for us for the next 4 years, won't it?
Well, certainly. And I'm kind of scared.
I'm sorry.
Not because I'm fearful for my own safety, right? I'm fearful that the stigma, right?
Yeah.
The stigma comes around. The worst thing that comes around with these issues, and I think we talked about it last week too, with the mask wearing, right? I'm less scared of COVID than I am with people freaking the fuck out that I don't wear a mask. And so if we tighten down restrictions and this rhetoric in the media continues to push conservatives into this bubble of insurrectionists, traitors to the country, that kind of thing, then I'm more scared that people are going to, for no other purpose than because CNN told them to, think that I am legitimately a insurrectionist traitor to the country. And I wonder if that has any implications on my job, if it has any implications on my family or my my ability to do X, Y, or Z. I'm like terrified that eventually I'm going to get a question on an application that's going to say, which side do you vote for?
That would be unfortunate.
Well, that's the othering that they're currently saying. They have used words like extermination. They have used words like eradicate
Hmm.
and slaughter and um purge. That's one that they use. Purge the Congress of the Republicans who've incited this violence, right? That's the rhetoric, the irony that, and I don't think I'm speaking to the choir here, honestly. Um, that that's the language that was used when the Nazis did take power. They wanted to exterminate the Jews, purge Germany of this. Right? That's the issue. And we're going to see more of it until the media will stop inciting. And I'm going to say it, the media incites this violence. Her Majesty's arms are always open for the prodigal colony to return.
So I do want to address a couple of things. One, Cyrene mentioned the Senate and the midterms. I don't believe they're every 2 years, so that's not going to be a thing.
Yes, they are every 2 years. Just some people are up for re-election and some are not.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not all of them. It's yeah. There was another thing. I was talking to somebody last night about this when it came to things like military spending and military presence, and it's always seen that Republicans bolster the military, but the Democrats reduce it. But they never get rid of it entirely because your nation is built on war, which is a very strange. It's a very strange thing to have as such a heart of a nation. It's very strange as I guess as an outsider to see it. I guess we've been involved in many wars, I guess, and we've had our own issues, of course. I don't mean it to sound like we're better. We're not. We're not better than any country. It's interesting.
I mean, you could be. You can be.
We can be.
It wouldn't.
Yes.
I mean, I firmly believe that some cultures are better than others.
I would like to think that no.
Like, would you say that the British culture regarding, I don't know, equal rights is better than, I don't know, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan?
Sure. It's a very, but I think it's very complicated when it comes to cultural. But my point was about war and stuff, because people were thinking that with Biden going in, he'll pull out of all these places, and I'm like, that's not going to happen. Obama never did it. In fact, if anything,
No.
the guy. I mean, I know Trump might beat him on the airstrike numbers, but fuck me. He didn't keep. He kept none of his promises on that, and he kept. And was Guantanamo Bay one of them? He didn't shut that down. He had so many.
Still don't think that's
right.
down.
He had so many promises, but in reality, and this is the point that the friend had made, that in reality, the Dems aren't even left. They're not even on the left. They're almost centre right because of the military holding them there as well. And even though they got a lot of.
I think you misinterpret, though.
No, that's what they said.
What military is, though.
Okay,
it's
go
not
on.
Military, like, action and spending is not inherently left
Or
right
wing. That's not the point I was going to go. Yeah, that's fine. Go on. You clear that up.
But it's not, because the left tries to, quote unquote, reduce military spending. It's not actually. They're not reducing military spending.
Yeah. No, I got
the way we look at that is just based on the last 30 years. It's only gotten bigger.
That was the point when I said Obama didn't keep any of his promises on it. It's always seen that Dems would do it, but they never do it. They don't do it because it's so important to your country. It's such an ingrained part of your culture, maybe part of the economy as well, I guess.
It is a major part of our economy.
I don't know your economy, so I needed you to say that. And it's so important. That's why I find it so fascinating. People say they're going to reduce this spending in the military, which is one of the points I've seen, and then invest it in the police. And the argument is always, once those people get there, no, they don't, because they realise they can't. Because financially, because you're corporate America, the Dems in this context are very much corporate America, especially the one that got elected. Look, it took a corporate America politician to beat Trump. Interesting. He'll get there and realise he can't keep that promise either. And then you're back to square one of middle-of-the-road politics that are apparently acceptable status quo that benefit absolutely nobody. Nice.
My problem is that, unfortunately, the difference between middle-of-the-road politics and status quo are like... It's more than just these two dimensions. It's 3 dimensions. Because middle-of-the-road politics, meaning that you can go either way, or that you are non-committal to either, one side or the other, is very different than the status quo middle-of-the-road politics, because that implies something that is staunchly opposed to many people's quote-unquote center middle-of-the-road politics. And war is a perfect example.
True.
The status quo in the United States of a middle-of-the-road politics since the 80s, I think, has been interference in Middle Eastern politics. That has been a middle-of-the-road, bipartisan effort.
That's yielded some rather interesting results over the last 4 years, I will admit. I'm very, very impressed with that. They'll get forgotten, of course, and then be championed by Biden as his success.
Well, yeah. Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought when you
said
that.
Sorry.
But no, it's okay. But middle of the road politics in truth would be, I think that we maybe should be a little bit more reserved in our interference. Maybe if they do something, right, that would be like the back and forth that I would imagine somebody in the middle would go.
Yeah.
If the middle is all war all the time, it's good for business, then I think that's just another level of this, the scale that we're looking at when it comes to these politics. I don't think that putting things together that pro-war is more right-wing.
Well, it's more of an outward perception to how things look.
Well, yeah, it's what they tell people, and then that's why they have left wingers who then will vote for the Democratic politicians because they said, "Oh, we're anti-war." Meanwhile, they'll do more drone strikes than George W. Bush did when we attacked Iraq.
Well, they'll deploy more troops as well, which and this might sound like a bit of a shot. I do apologize, but it does appear to be a status quo when they'll say they do one thing and do the absolute opposite. That seems to be what is the perception of your middle of the road politics, because it keeps on happening as a repeated cycle, which I find it's like the definition changed to suit a different set of parameters, which I find quite weird.
Well, that's what's happened for most things in our current political climates in both our countries. The words keep shifting, right? The definitions change so that the implication of something is not how you originally thought it was. And with that, you have a major issue when it comes to not only public perception inside the United States, but also internationally, right? Because if I told you that, I had middle of the road politics, and I was talking to somebody who was in France, they might think that means something completely different than what I think it means. But that's because each country has its own little culture of what middle-of-the-road politics is. There's no international middle-of-the-road politics. That doesn't exist. So when you say status quo, I want things to continue as they are, during the Obama years, when Trump was elected, well, what you're telling me is you want international interference. You want drone strikes in Syria. You want coups organized by the CIA in Middle Eastern countries to get rid of dictators so that you can install some sort of Muslim Brotherhood so that then we can send in troops and then we can keep selling shit. And then we all make a lot of money because we're firing weapons at everybody. And oh, by the way, we also sold weapons to the bad guys. So here we are, right? Like that is the American history of freaking Middle Eastern interference in a nutshell. And that is bipartisan. We are a large amount of our economy is based on, honestly, like Tomahawk missiles, which are $110 million a pop.
That's pricey.
I mean, you guys buy them too.
Well, we do
NATO
need them.
buys a bunch of
We're just preparing to blow up the Channel Islands, so yes, of course we need them.
Yeah. But Trump walks in, right? Having been a New York Democrat for all his life, basically being a cutthroat, like, here's the deal kind of guy from New York, right? I'm doing business here. What do you want? Kind of type of fella. And he's entered into this world of politics, and the world of politics was not ready to handle Donald Trump and did not want to handle him at all. So they gave him everything. I mean, all guns blazing all the time at him because he was an outsider who had infiltrated the Oval Office. He was not supposed to win. And I will continue to say that. However, the media is what won Biden the election. The problem with the media going at you constantly, I mean constantly, more negative press than any other president in history. The problem with that is that you will get the low information voter or the guy who doesn't really like politics all that much, but needs to know enough. So he flips on MSNBC because they think that that's centrist. Or they flip on, they Google a story. They pull up CNN. They pull up the Daily Mail. They pull up, anything, right? And yes, I know, Sith, you're very behind.
Yeah, there's a bit of delay here. I'm sorry.
But you completely lost my train of thought.
Yeah, you kind of lost it.
I lost my train of thought. Fuck!
Damn you, chat! That's Sith's fault. Everyone blames Sith. Oh well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, now I know what I was talking about.
Go on then.
I fucking turned on the sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the media perception is what gave people the indication that Trump was evil, right? Trump was evil, and all his supporters were supporters of evil. And now you had this event where it looks like Trump supporters are evil.
Yeah.
This gave them everything they needed to continue that landslide, sandstorm, storm, crazy shitstorm. Let's go with shitstorm. I like shitstorm better. So even the thing that Mel had written back like 30 minutes ago, where we need to buckle down and make a third party. The party of Trump prior to the 6th had a real chance of being a thing. But afterwards, I don't know. I don't know if they would ever get the kind of backing. They might. Because no Republican had nearly the same kind of pull that Trump did. It's possible. It's possible that a party of Trump could emerge and overtake the Republican Party. But enough centrists and enough people who are non-committal may prevent that from happening. Freedom Party. Yeah, true. But I don't think, as Sean says, it would never be allowed. The establishment would not let it, especially after the successes that Trump had. I don't think the establishment would let it. They would find something. They would. Well,
they're trying
to.
They are trying to find a way right now. Congress is to make it so he can never campaign again. Which is interesting.
all that needs to happen then is just have Trump be a supporter of a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then say, "This guy has Trump support. Let's go. This is our new Trump. This is the God King resurrected." Or honestly, at this point, with Donald Trump being like so getting all these things handed down on him, it might be time for Eric Trump to stand up and take the place of his father, or Donald Trump Jr.
Well, I know is it Ivana? Ivana?
Ivanka.
Yeah, I know she had indicated some interest in politics. It's always possible. But she'll forever be associated, so she'll always have that over her head.
Well, she'll always be associated, but that's going to give her the same kind of credit as it will the hatred.
And Roger, Conrad Kurz. Oh, Jesus Christ. Huh. That would be, bloody. Very, very bloody.
I mean, it could be worse. We could take another one out of like we could always go back in time and see, you know, what history has in terms of options for a government that is not obeying the will of the people.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that kind of thing would work in the information age.
Not too sure. Not too sure.
I mean, we got indications from both sides of, you know, both countries here. We've got your lovely anonymous mask wearing individual. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to inspire anybody to look up what that means. But yes, that gentleman had a way of dealing with it. Didn't work out, but we had a couple of interesting players who did some crazy. Yes, Jason, I know it's called revolution.
He knew what he meant. Just slipped his mind.
I know, but I don't know how you do it. I don't know. In the information age, we would need to go after the media first. We would need to take away all of their power.
Problem you have there is then people say, but now you're curtailing the freedom of the press, the same freedom that's been exploited for so long and misused. Okay. I would also point out a political revolution, like having a third party, I find it hard to believe then, though, that the Democrats would willingly split, knowing they could stay in power. Say, for example, if the Republicans split and it created two parties, I don't think that would happen, though, because they know that would lose an edge over the Democrats if they could try and regain in some manner. Although...
Well, the truth...
Go on.
The truth would be you would have to make a populist party, like an actual populist party. One that the Bernie Sanders supporters appreciated and the Trump supporters appreciated.
So, yeah, there is that, and... yeah. I do think that it's fascinating to me when you look at the last... how, like... I haven't seen someone have a definitive, like... because they were actually popular for all the right reasons, Republican win an election, not without any like horrific media controversy since like Reagan. Bush had the freaking hanging Chad incident, and that was messy. And Trump was just chastised from the start. He was fucked from the start, and he still won, which was hilarious. Yeah.
But if I had to finish with any kind of thought process, we would need to take out the media, and by take them out, I would mean dismantle their establishment power. So that would mean that we would have to move towards more independent journalism. This would mean that individuals would have to create their own publications. Online, it's easy to do, right? But by doing so, you need to also dismantle the tech monopolies. Now, that one's harder, but we have a way to do that. That's Schedule 230, right? 230 reform, sorry. If we can do that, we can reduce the amount that Google and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter have power. Then we have a little bit more ability to give people like, oh God, what's the thing that journalists are using? Glenn Greenwald is currently using something. It sounds like Stack Overflow, but it's not that.
I couldn't tell you. I'm not familiar
But
with it.
they're using their own subscription-based platform to put out their articles on their own terms, right? That exists. The media needs to basically lose its ability to hold the people in this bubble, in this state of disinformation. So we need to start by dismantling the media and create a better one. I thought for a long time that YouTube doing independent commentators, things like what you did, even like I don't agree with most of the skeptics, but that too.
Mm-hmm.
It might be Libri, Xanthium, but that's not the one I was thinking of. Um, the things that the skeptics had done was great. I thought that they created a lovely, um, like trend on Facebook to be an independent commentator, to bring your voice to the table and be able to share that with, at least in this channel, 6.18 thousand people. Then that's awesome. That gives somebody else another perspective. It gives other people abilities to hear things that aren't the curtailed and edited forms of bullshit media that is pumped out by CNN, Fox, MSNBC, and the like. Um, I think that with the ownership of Google over YouTube, we need to be able to actually have a free and open YouTube and Google so that people can in fact do that. So Schedule 230 reform has to happen.
Do you think it will happen now?
It needs to, or you will create more radicalization.
Yeah, but will they do it?
They'll have to,
Okay.
because either they pass legislation to provide protections for people's rights,
Mm-hmm.
or the people will take their rights back. It wasn't too long ago that Black Lives Matter threw a brick through CNN's window. Not saying I'm endorsing it, but I'm also not saying it ain't gonna happen.
Just saying it happened.
Yeah, it happened, and it's probably gonna happen again, unless something can change. This is only the beginning of what is to come, because some have said that this is the shot heard round the world.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see. But we've gone 30 minutes over, but that's because I got off on a tangent and I really
No,
actually
no,
wanted
no,
to
no.
say that.
This was interesting because the last part was more of a back and forth, which was actually quite fun.
Right. And I think that a lot of people do feel a lot of what I feel too. They 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 want to do something. They don't know what. They
Mm-hmm.
don't know how. They don't know where to start. They don't know where to go. A lot of people have the same anger and frustration that I do. And if I can direct it into a more positive way, but still get our fucking message across,
Yeah.
then hell yeah, I'm gonna try to do it.
Good.
Because otherwise, I don't want to see what happens when you infringe on people's rights. I don't want to see more blood.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. But in every fucking country around the world where you take away people's rights, they will attack you. In every country.
Yeah.
It's not American. It's not the UK. It's not just India. Not just Hong Kong. China. Taiwan. Rwanda. South Africa. Yeah.
Rhodesia.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have it. If you take away enough rights, you will piss people off. And they will have nothing left. And when people have nothing left, then they have nothing to lose. But yeah, I'm going to end it there. So I thank you all for joining us. All of those who slapped the like button, I really, really appreciate you. Those who slapped the dislike button, I slightly less approve of you, but I still, thanks.
He hates you. Okay, he hates you all.
I don't. They engaged.
That's true. Thank you for that.
So I thank you all for joining us. Meg, do you have anything to shill?
I did a reading on Moisky Reads. Otherwise, no.
I don't have much else to shill right now because I was going to make a video talking about my thoughts on this, but my thoughts are still evolving. And actually, I think I developed a lot of my opinions during this stream as I talked it out.
That's good.
Which is kind of why I wait for these kind of streams.
Helps you to think.
It helps me work out my thoughts, yeah.
That's good. Well, I'm glad it did. The answer is no, though, so carry on.
All right, well, I'm going to wish you all a good night. Thank you all for joining us, and say good night, Meg.
I can't believe we've been doing this for 7 days. 8 now, and already this happened. Good night, Meg.
Good night, Meg.